What is your path to Dharma?
Welcome, friends. So happy to have you. You can see we're getting serious over here. We got podcast equipment going. What do you think, Shae? Welcome to our channel. I'm Shannon.
And I'm Shae.
So, we are on an odyssey of discovering the Bhagavad Gita, integrating it into our lives. And like I said, we're getting serious over here. We have been playing around with our channel for a little bit for a while and just trying to find our voice. And a couple months ago, we just started to get real deep into the Bhagavad Gita, and we decided this is really what we wanted to talk about. So, welcome to our channel. We're so glad to have you with us. I'm Shannon, and I'm a spiritual seeker, and I have been so my entire life. And our channel is about the Bhagavad Gita, but also we explore all sorts of ways that we are expanding our soul and spiritually awakening. And we invite you to be on that journey with us. So I'm with my beautiful daughter, Shae. So excited to be doing this podcast with her. Tell us about yourself, Shae.
Yeah, so my name is Shae. I'm a yoga teacher, also a spiritual seeker, and here to really learn and grow alongside our viewers and alongside my mom. This is such a beautiful opportunity for us to get together and talk about the Gita, but also just everything spiritual that comes into our lives. I think that having these types of conversations is what helps us to grow exponentially. And so I am just so happy to be here.
Yeah, so this morning I was watching the Wisdom of the Sages podcast, and we've been so inspired by them. And it seems like we could just do reaction videos to what they're talking about, but we've previously kind of been working our way through the Gita, but like I was saying last time we were talking, we want to do a little bit of integration before we really start getting deep into the Gita again, because we really want to figure out what is this? What does this mean in our lives? What have we found here, Shae? Because I know that when I started studying the Gita and really getting into it, it was like this golden knowledge just breaking my brain open. And I know there's other people who've had that same type of experience.
Yeah, absolutely. This is it's just a timeless, song of the God that gives us so much to think about and to resonate with and to apply to our everyday life that I think your bit on us wanting to take some time for integration is so necessary when you're reading something that is so thick with knowledge as this book is.
Yeah, but we both listened to the same Wisdom of the Sages podcast this morning. We didn't even talk about it. And I messaged you and was like, hey, I just listened to something, listen to this. And you're like, I just listened to it too. So I feel like it was really Krishna just pointing us in the direction of what did he want us to talk about. So one of the things we've been doing is trying to really understand what is Krishna to us? What does that mean to us? Because I don't come from a background that's even got any knowledge culturally or anything about Hinduism, about Krishna. Like, it's a learning process for sure.
Yeah, it's a learning process and it's just an opening of my brain to something new that, I think when I read about Krishna, I know that he resonates deeply into my soul. And so I know that I have spent lifetimes learning about him before. And that's what I know has guided us towards him in this lifetime as well, which is super exciting. But also, it takes time and you have to be really patient with yourself to understand these concepts that it's like learning a brand new language. It really is. And especially when you try to apply it to your life, it's like, oh my goodness, this is a lot. This is hard work.
Yeah, and it's both meant to be work and meant not to be work, it seems like.
Exactly.
So one of the things that I got to in the Gita, well, I got stuck on chapter 3 because Krishna was really talking about work and like doing things for not the fruit, doing it, just for the universe. And that's kind of what they were talking about this morning on the Wisdom of the Sages. They, of course, have been reading the Srimad Bhagavatam. Let me say that right. The Srimad Bhagavatam, which you can see, I believe, behind me. And I know Shae has a set of it too. So thank you to the Wisdom of the Sages for that, because we manifested that through them. I feel like this knowledge has come to us in this lifetime at this moment for a purpose, for a reason. I feel like this is our karma, actually, to have this knowledge come into our life and that we've known this. And this feels like you said a word before where it was like, I just remember it. It's like I'm remembering it. What was that?
Oh, I think it's called Shruti.
Shruti, yes, it feels like that, where it's like when Krishna started talking to me, I was like, what? What am I hearing? Like, but it was at the same time, it was like something inside of my soul was like, I remember this. I remember this. So when we think about how do we take this vast amount of knowledge, I mean, there's like 18 volumes behind me, and I'm on page 11, by the way. And trying to take it super seriously because that's where I'm at, where the author is talking about, yeah, you probably should have a guru. You should probably be ready to really get deep into this and don't be just reading it randomly. But um, I know this knowledge has come to us partly for our benefit, but also because we seem to be drawn toward spreading light and love and knowledge about this. The conversation, the collective, all of that, I think, is coming into play. And I just feel divinely inspired.
Yeah, and the Srimad Bhagavatam, the Bhagavad Gita is actually an excerpt from it. It's transformational energy. It is. I mean, when we received these books, the energy that was radiating off of them was so palpable to begin with. But I think that's why they kind of caution, get a guru because it's life-changing. It's hard to read this stuff and not analyze it and recognize how you're living your life. It's like you're bound to be transformed when you read these words.
Yeah, you can't help but be transformed. One thing they said on the podcast was karma can ruin your life. Do you remember that?
Yes.
And so I sort of feel like it's almost a responsibility that has come to us a little bit. And I do feel we're on this sort of precipice of the karma that we have, of receiving this and being in a position to maybe talk about it with a collective. This could go great for us. It could go real bad also, because one of the things that they brought up was this idea of like pride and being proud of the things you are doing versus doing it for really just the universe, for the better of the collective. So I feel like there's this crazy sort of line that you have to walk here when it comes to what Krishna is talking about here. It's like utter beauty. But how do I go about living my life? I want to follow my path to Dharma. I want to like work out my karma. I want to do all of that in a state of complete like surrender,
Mm-hmm.
and be able to just really, really get it. I want to be able to get it. Do you know what I mean? And I
Yeah.
feel like there's like little bits of knowledge here that are helping me get there. But it's like, there's so much. There's so much there. So
So much.
yeah, so even when I do integrate it and I'm able to say to myself, like I'm so proud of myself. One of the points that was made on the podcast was about how actually I'm just kind of an observer in my life, and I can't really take credit for anything. I'm just a vessel. I'm just a fractal of the universe. I'm just a part of Vishnu. I'm just Krishna looking out the eyes of this lady. So
Yeah.
how do I become all of that? It's kind of overwhelming a little bit, I gotta say.
It is. And I think there's a fine line in a lot of these concepts, like of crossing that line or being on the line or being under the line of all of the concepts that Krishna is talking about. And I just want to speak to this idea of the whole idea of pride and the whole idea of it's the intention behind your action that really matters most, right? I mean, Krishna tells us that. And so in one sense, it's so easy to like go down a rabbit hole of analyzing everything. And in another, it's like it's so easy to be like, oh, I had great intentions for that. And you know what? Zooming way out, like you said, and we are literally meat sacks, like walking around Earth, which is just like
It's
a
so
little
weird.
bit morbid, but it's so true. We are just fractals of, and the books will tell us of Vishnu, right? And we're just came here for this human experience. It's also very interesting, and I think that's that's definitely what's driving me to want to read this stuff and to really study it and know it, is that I wanna be able to move about my life with great intention in everything I do without, accumulating karma, and while also undoing the karma that I came here to do, and then while also living in this dharma that is Shae, that I came here to live. There's human things that I just came here to do that I'm gonna have to fulfill. So these books, they just help you kind of navigate that.
Before we started, we said we were going to call in our ancestors and like
Do it now.
all of that stuff, which
Never too late.
we
It's
haven't
never
really
too
done it.
late.
So, this is usually what we do before we talk. And we decided, why are we not actually like putting this on camera? Because one of the things that we do when we really try to get into this is to connect to the spirit. So, I actually just want to call in our ancestors. I want to call in Krishna. I want to call in the spirit. I want to call in the universe. I want to call in higher knowledge. And I'm so grateful to be a vessel for it, because truly that's what I'm trying to do. No thought is mine. No idea is mine. I am truly just a divine channel. So I call in all of the powers available to me in this life, in every life that I've lived, in all of my timelines. And I'm so grateful for the universe for all of my knowledge. I call it in to myself. I call it in for the collective. I call it in for all of us. And I thank the universe.
May we be divine vessels for energy to flow. That's the whole reason we began this podcast, is what information can we open up our crowns to, allow it to flow through our throat chakras, and share it and have conversation and hopefully expand and, you know, add to the collective, to this expansion. We're expanding as a collective regardless, right? And so it's our intent to just spread the light the best that we can.
Yeah, because we are living in a world of darkness and of chaos, of war, of just really intensely dramatic energies. So it's this type of knowledge that almost like I look to sort of like cradle me in the arms of safety. If I could go just like crawl up in the lap of the Divine Mother, right? And just have her protect me and keep me safe. That's what it feels like when I'm able to just surrender, just sort of like sink into the knowledge that I'm really learning, just allow it to come into my brain and just I think that's where we're all of this is going, about just detachment and surrender and like letting go of outcome and all of those things that we talk about even in with law of attraction and like manifestation. Those are all words we're using. So that's one of our main goals on earth, I feel like, is to do that. And it's just a constant game that we're in, just a constant cycle of lesson after lesson. And I love how the universe is so patient with us and will show us. But like at some point, almost like they were talking about how they made this statement about, I wrote it down. They're telling this story in the podcast about one of the incarnations of Krishna, and he came back as like this really wise little boy. And I can't remember I can't remember his name. I don't know if you can, Shae, but basically there was a guy that was coming around the different villages, and he liked to debate, and it was his goal. He'd heard about this golden child, and he wanted to come into their village and debate him and just like defeat him, right? And so all of the followers are running up to, I'm saying Krishna, but I wish I could remember the name of the it's one of his incarnations. Nevertheless, they're telling him, this is going to happen or whatever. And his response is like complete calmness. Of course he's not worried. Like, of course he's not worried about this. He is a supreme Godhead after all. But the lesson I think that they were trying to teach us was how actually we don't need to even worry about trying to debate something or like prove anything or anything like that. It is truly about surrendering. It is truly about just letting go and giving sort of like the glory to the universe. So um, basically, what happens is it talks about how this interaction that's going to go down between these two individuals, Krishna is saying, basically he's going to be humiliated. And part of why he is because he's prideful. And Krishna doesn't tolerate pride in that way. He doesn't tolerate it. In the quote, I'm finally getting to it. Whenever he sees we are proud of something, he removes it for us. For us. So that's part of where, like I was talking about how we are trying to integrate all of this vast knowledge into our life. We're trying to understand, what does this mean for us? And I want to grasp it and I feel great about it. But then I'll come across something that's like, I know this is so, so true. This literally just happened to me today when I thought I had something really cool that I was feeling great about, that I thought I had captured. And then it turned out, no, I didn't. And really what it was is I had this giant, like, queen bee fly through my house. It was amazing, the size of this bee. It was like incredible. And I opened my deck door and she flew out and she landed right on a table out on my deck. And I went and got my phone and I was like, wow, like, she's incredible. Like, I need to get a video of her. And I got down and for a couple minutes, right, she didn't move, right next to me. And I've got my phone all focused on her and it's so close to her face and she's washing her face. And at one point she like takes the front, she has these real long antennas and she just like pulling, almost like gracious. It was like, oh my God, she's like grooming herself. It was stunning. And I couldn't believe I was capturing it. And eventually she flies off and I look down at my phone. It was not recording. It wasn't recording. And instantly, it was like instantly I thought about, why was I even recording that? That moment was for me. That was the universe. That was me and Krishna. Do you know what I'm saying? Like that moment, I was supposed to like notice the absolute beauty of this little being, and I shouldn't have been worried about taping it. In fact, when I tried to tape it, I was like, oh, that'll make a great short or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like Krishna's like, like, no, that's not the lesson here. Like, no, be present or whatever. So like, such a thank you for that lesson, by the way, Krishna. Let me high five on that because I'll take an easy one all day long, because the hard ones, like when we've been prideful and we've been kind of like humiliated to the point of because we thought we had it or knew it, or we thought we were smart or whatever it is. And the universe always seems to show us how we're messing up just a little bit, even when we think we're doing so great.
This just makes me think of, I called you the other day telling you about my dream. And we talked a little bit previously on another episode about the difference between Christ consciousness and Krishna consciousness. And while I do agree that there is a difference in the energy there, I had this beautiful dream that it really just felt like Krishna was coming in and just like removing all doubts. And the dream went like this. I was in this big building, this gorgeous, it almost felt like it was like a Capitol building or something like this, like huge marble pillars. And there was an explosion that I caught wind of, like there was going to be an explosion that happened in there. And I was kind of frantically running around trying to get people to get out of the building. And I walk out to the front, I run out to the front steps, and there's this woman who's just like calm as a cucumber. And I tell her, like, there's about to be an explosion. We need to get out of here. And she was like, oh no, don't you get it, honey? If you have Christ on your brain, you won't explode. And then it was as if, those science fiction movies when you like zoom into the brain and then you see all the cells kind of moving. I do this to this woman and there is like this just abundance of love on her brain. And it was just like no coincidence that I had that dream like shortly after we were talking about the difference between Christ consciousness and Krishna consciousness. And I woke up with just like this remembrance of it's the same. Yeah. Like it's this eternal, it's this eternal love. And it almost felt like not that I was Christian for very long, but I've been raised in this Christian kind of world, like in America, where that is the norm for somebody to be Christian. And so it's almost like I was feeling, upon reflection, like maybe jaded about that, or there was something about that I was almost like, I don't know, hating on Christ for some reason, like rejecting that. Right. And this dream was just, it really felt like Krishna was coming down and swooping away all my doubts and like, hey, remember, like, even if you have Christ on the brain, like you won't explode. And like, isn't Krishna Christ? He is. And then we got to talking about, I've heard certain yogis say that Jesus himself was just a reincarnation of Vishnu. He was just one of the reincarnations. And I just think that's so beautiful. And that's what really pulls me to this path in general, is just this inclusivity of all the beings. Why wouldn't Jesus, of course, why wouldn't Jesus be a reincarnation? Look at the beautiful things that he did and he spread. So yeah, Krishna will remove all the doubt, remove all the pride. It really feels like that whole, at least my energy behind trying to explain the difference between Christ and Krishna consciousness was prideful, kind of like, no, Krishna is the way. Like, I'm choosing Krishna, when it's like, no, Christ and Krishna, they're holding hands together.
Yeah, they're the same being, actually.
Yeah.
Everything is Krishna. So am I. So are you.
Yes,
Do you know what I'm saying? So
exactly.
like, yeah, it's so super prideful to try to break it down, because it assumes that we understand, number one.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So we're
Right.
like, I get this or whatever. Yeah, no, we don't. This reminds me of something I read in the Gita the other day. I actually have it bookmarked because I was like freaking out because it was so good. This is chapter 4. Verse number 42. Therefore, the doubts which have arisen in your heart out of ignorance should be slashed by the weapon of knowledge. I love that. I like literally want that tattooed on my body somewhere.
Yeah,
That's
beautiful.
exactly what was happening in your dream. And it was weird because that same day I had a dream about being in a great and spacious building. And I was telling you that we were at this party. And it was like, wow, I can't believe we're here. It was this amazing building. So it's utterly nuts that you had the same day you had a dream that that building was blowing up. So what does that building, I've been thinking about that. What is that building? Is that our earth life? Is this our earthly existence where we were in there and we were like, wow, we're so lucky to have the lives we have. And that's so ridiculously true. But what were we learning? Like, what are we there for? So is that about our gratitude? Is that about an acknowledgement of that everything is energy? Everything is Krishna. Everything is everything, right?
Right.
I this part they were talking about in the podcast about how because of that, this is why and how you can love your enemies. And this is exactly what Jesus was talking about when he was saying, like, turn the other cheek and like love your enemies. Like, he got this. He truly got this idea that his enemy is not, there's no such thing as an enemy. And even going back to that story that I was telling, that incarnation of Krishna, where he was going to meet this other master and they were going to have this debate or whatever. Krishna was explaining, like, he wasn't worried. And actually, this person's not my enemy. There is no enemy. Like, he doesn't see it that way. And if we can go about our life and see everybody as us, like it's a mirror, like they're just projections, like we're just showing ourselves something, like we are all just part of the collective, then I think that's how we drop the pride. Do you know what I'm saying? Because otherwise we want to feel special. And the point they made about how the kind of the shadow of pride is anxiety. And I love that discussion because that's exactly right. So even as we were kind of trying to break down what's the difference between Krishna and Jesus, it's like the thoughts that arise in your mind arise out of the idea, number one, like I was saying, that we can even figure this out. Like, we're prideful enough to be able to figure it out. But like, should we even be worrying about that? Definitely not. Definitely not. So it's not for us to try to figure out in that way. It's for us to be able to get to that higher state. And that's what Krishna was talking about. That's what Jesus was talking about. Same being.
Buddha was talking about.
Buddha. Yes. Yeah.
All of them.
All of them. All of them. I love all this talk about all the ancient aliens and I mean, we can get into that. Like, who is that? Aren't they also different aspects of Vishnu? If non-human intelligences show up and start talking to us, like, how are they not just us also? So
I mean, they're a part of our universe, part of everything that's happening cosmically. And if it's happening cosmically, and if everything is a mirror, that's what's so interesting to me about all of this alien talk and like who's showing up. It's like, wow, have we reached a point where we're finally able to like recognize them? Like, what is that saying about us as humanity? You know?
Right. Well, isn't there like numerous, innumerable aspects or incarnations of Vishnu? Innumerable. So, like, it makes sense where maybe we are starting as humanity to open our awareness up enough. Number one, to even be aware about ourselves, like
Mm-hmm.
our earthly existence, that we are spiritual beings. But now, are we starting to become galactic beings? Are we starting to have that awareness? And I don't think that that's not compatible with what we're reading. I think it is compatible. In fact, I know it is. I know
Oh,
it
yeah.
is.
Absolutely. I think it's interesting in the podcast. I don't think it was the same episode that you're referring to, but shout out to the wisdom of the sages. That's who we keep referring to throughout this episode. Um, they said something about like this ancient knowledge, like particularly the Srimad Bhagavatam and the Gita, like throughout the years, they've been like lost or forgotten, right? Like we've gone centuries without reading them, or but yet they've always been here. Like people have been studying these for a millennia. And so I just thought that was so cool when applied to our life. Like, yeah, you could say that we forgot about this for all 26 years of my life, and then they were gifted to me. And it's almost like that's been a pattern that has cycled through all of humanity since the beginning of time. I mean, how old are these books? People have been studying them for all the years that they have been, and now we're getting them. It's just such a beautiful gift, and it's just so full circle to think about it like that to me.
Yeah, 7,000 years later, we're still getting the knowledge, and it's still relevant, and it's still making sense. And
Timeless.
actually, it's timeless, because I feel like if Krishna were to show up now, that first of all, that'd be nuts. Like, what does a 20th century Krishna even look like, right?
I'm
Because
open. I'm open to receiving you, Krishna, and to meeting you and to being by your side. Okay.
right, because like he shows up, and one thing that I've loved about Krishna is just how he incarnates, and his energy is like amazing. It's like mischievous. It's like he can do anything. Like he can and wants to do any and all things. And he reminds me in these moments of like stress, in these moments where it seems real damn serious down here. It's like serious in life, but, like, he reminds me that, no, actually, like, this is just a joke. Like, no, this is just a play. Like, this isn't even real. I go back to our very first, conversations about Arjuna, get up. Like, what are you doing? Like, get up. You know what I mean? And so, like, to me, part of what we're learning is not only about the Bhagavad Gita. It's not only about who is Krishna and who is Krishna, like as a being and as a religion. What does this mean to us? It's truly just a cycle that we're in, where we're trying to get knowledge, recover knowledge that maybe we've had in other
Yep.
lifetimes, and just continue forward to be like the best vessel we possibly can be. And that's all we can do. I mean, that's really all I'm doing is like, they talked about in the episode about how just surrender to your life and let it be, and don't try to change the things around you. That's not the game. Like the game's been set already. Like your life's been set up. Your job is to like get in here in the character and just like
Mm-hmm.
enjoy and like learn the lessons, so you don't have to keep doing the same things over and over. I don't want to live 15 lives where I'm doing the same thing over and over. And that's really kind of the whole point. We just are all doing the best we can, for sure.
Yeah. And
And
just how surrender to Krishna makes it all so much more sweet. Like it really does.
yeah, and I want to tell a little bit of a story about this experience I had with Krishna, which is part of what is just making me feel so obsessed and attached to Krishna right now. I have this practice where I do deep meditation every morning. The universe started waking me up a few years ago around like 2 a.m., and I still get up at 2 a.m. To talk to the universe every single day. And I'm usually getting into the meditation right around 4. I get up and I'm like kind of waking up. I do some practices, spiritual practices. And by 4 a.m., I'm getting deep into meditation. And I've been doing this every single day. And I've been having wild metaphysical experiences lately. Absolutely wild, where I've been just incredible lucid dreaming for one thing. But while I'm in meditation, I keep having these experiences where I'm like literally astrally projecting out of my body. It's super cool. I've been flying down tubes of light. I've been flying down tubes of darkness. I've been flying around my lake. I've been floating up to my ceiling to the point where I wonder, am I going to hit my head? It's super crazy. And I've been awake and lucid during all of this. Well, this was like a few weeks ago, and I'm deep in my meditation, and I had been pulled out of my body. I was just kind of floating through this dark tunnel that time. And suddenly it was like I felt like something had me. I don't know how else to explain it. Something grabbed me up and almost kind of like yanked me out of this like blissful kind of floating I was doing. And I heard, this is weird. I heard in the background, it was like this, there was like a party going on, or like there was like low conversation and like background music. And then I could hear like a breathing, almost like a giggling, whispering right in my right ear, like there was somebody standing in my living room. It was creepy as hell. And I was like aware at the time, um, enough that I said to the being, like, I'm gonna head back to my body. See you later. Like, this is unsettling. I'm gonna get back to my body. And the being was like, no, you're not. And I was like, I think I am. But like, as I tried to get back into my body, I really wasn't moving. And I tried to like visualize this golden light around my body to protect myself, and I couldn't. It was very bizarre. And I wasn't afraid, but it was, like I said, quite unsettling. And like I said, it was super weird because I could hear this conversation in the background. It was almost as if somebody was having a party and like their teenage son went over and like messed with their sim and like grabbed their sim and like messed with it or whatever. And I was the sim. So I say to the being, actually, my God is stronger than you. And I don't know why I said that, but I did. And I started chanting the Hare Krishna like mantra. I just started saying it over and over. And as soon as I started saying it, it was like the being turned up the radio super loud, ridiculously loud, where there was like 10,000 songs and like static, so loud that I could not hear myself saying the Hare Krishna mantra. And I'm sitting in my chair in my living room doing this. This is what's so bizarre because I do know that's where I'm at. I kept saying it over and over and over and over. And pretty soon I do get back into my body. I felt like Krishna grabbed me, got me. Like he pulled me back into my body and I kind of like bust back finally. It was super disorienting. I went outside and like laid in the grass. Wow. But it was like, oh my God, like Krishna just saved me. He saved me. Do you know what I'm saying? Like there was something about why did I reach for Krishna in that moment? I don't know. But I just kept like saying the mantra over and over and over as loud as I can, even when the music got super loud. And when I finally got back in, it was like, wow. First of all, that was weird as hell. What was that? What was that? And if you listen to our podcast enough, you'll know that we're kind of spiritual weirdos in that way. We have these weird experiences, but like, um, to me, that whole thing that occurred showed me a couple things. Number one, I know Krishna is powerful. I know that in these moments, what was that supposed to show me? In a moment of weakness, in a moment of like depths, darkness, where I think something has me, that actually there's power that I can reach for that can save me. And I'm so, so, so grateful for that. So that was one thing I definitely got to learn in that experience. But also it just I felt the love of Krishna. I don't know what else to say. It was like my heart just was like burning. It was like as I was pulling back into my body, I felt him. It was like it was almost as if he grabbed me and like pulled me in and like wrapped his arms around my body and like kept my spirit in there while I got back in or whatever. So, not only is Krishna everything, and he's also this book, and he's this microphone, and he's me, and he's you. Actually, also, he's like a God of power and love. And wow, like I'm here for that all day, all day.
Yeah.
Thank you, Krishna. Hare Krishna. I
Hare
mean, wow,
Krishna.
wow. Thank you for
Hare
saving
Krishna.
me. I am like forever grateful, honestly. Wow.
And I think a lot of people have this similar experience with Krishna where it's like Krishna just comes into your life. you had only met Krishna not long before then, and now he's coming to save you. And like you have the mantra on your mind. When I first met Krishna, or he first came into my awareness, I had a very similar experience where I just began chanting Hare Krishna for safety, for love, if I was feeling anxious, whatever. And it's like, as soon as you speak on his name and you touch his energy, you feel it.
Yeah.
You feel it, and he's got you.
Yeah, he truly has us. So I feel like even as we struggle to try to figure out who is this being? Is this a new god? Do we have a new god now? What is this? Did I unlock some type of Hindu god level in my game? Like what is happening? Yeah, there's weird stuff, but at the same time, it does just feel like a vibration of love, unconditional love. And even though Krishna does come across very different than Christ, maybe so, maybe not though. Um, it does feel like that loving source, that source of power and knowledge, just like right there. It's just like right there. I feel like, and Krishna is here to just pour out knowledge to us all day long, as long as we're
Absolutely.
willing and ready to listen, and we're not prideful about it, and we understand like the purpose of it is for, not just us, but for the collective, for all of us, so
Absolutely.
it is the idea is, as I expand, as I get knowledge and wisdom, I add to the collective.
Yep. Absolutely. My dog is out there doing something. I have no idea what he's doing, but he's making noises.
Do you want to pause, or
Yes.
is this our sign to wrap up?
Maybe this is our sign to wrap up.
Yeah,
Nothing's a coincidence, right? The dog is out there. I have a new puppy. And so before we got on here, if this part makes it, my dog
Krishna
was
shows up.
sleeping.
Right,
Yes.
Krishna shows up as your dog for attention.
Yep. And is like, oh, spring back to real life again. The dog is making noises in the kitchen, and he's yet a puppy. Who knows what he's doing?
I mean, that's like such an allegory for life, right? It's like you're getting deep in, and suddenly it's like, wait, what was that? Life.
And it feels like that for so many things. It's like, oh, I'm doing something, but it's like, oh, I'm thirsty, or like, oh, I have to feed the body, or like, oh, I need to stand up and move,
Seriously, anyone who's played Sims and you have to like spend time like on the treadmill or whatever and like reading the books and doing all the things, it's like, that's what this is. Yes. But as long as we can just like take it back and a remembrance of like our own divinity, that's really what it's about. So thank you so much if you've hung with us all the way to the end of this. We really appreciate all the comments. Thank you so much for watching. We really want to have this conversation with you, and we appreciate any interaction you have at all with our video. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Looking forward to recording many more, and we will definitely be diving back into the Gita when we feel ready. So thank you so much for being here, for all your comments, all your feedback. Please share, like, subscribe, send this to a friend if you think that they would benefit from it. And Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. See you next time, everyone. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe.